Hello. We're going to talk a little bit about grief today, a little bit about astrology and numerology, a little bit about the energy. Everything ties together. I'm your host, Mary-Laurence Bevington, and this is a soulful communication. Do. So, as we begin, one of the things I've noticed of late is grief inside myself and moving through the stages of grief, which often go not quite in a progression. Sometimes we have to back up into one that we've already gone through. So if we already bargained, if we already moved into denial, if we already moved into anger, maybe sometimes we step back. And I'm looking out at the world through my eyes. And when I say that, I'm really thinking my third eye, but also the eyes here that I see you with. And I see this playing out. Remember, grief takes on different hues. So let's talk a little bit about the president of Russia, uh, Putin, Vladimir Putin. He's an interesting man, came into power August 9th, 1999, when Boris Yeltsin made him the prime minister. He just fired the other prime minister. He also set Putin up to become president. And 27 years have gone by, and now 3 days, and he is still president. He'd formerly been in more of a policing security style role. And I see him as someone who is in constant grief, actually. Lots of things I could say, perhaps in the more deeply negative about him, but just seeing him as a soul who has embodied, he seems to be someone who, as a little boy, got parented in a particular way and given messages culturally that he couldn't be sensitive. He couldn't show emotions and the like. And it's come out sideways. And because of his age, I'm guessing a little bit on his astrology. I have not done a deep dive in it. And also because of how this eclipse, August 12th, 2026, the one that's happening, just happened today, but we're still in the afterglow right now. Because of how it activated the eclipse that happened right after he became prime minister, which was August 11th, 1999, we are seeing a resurgence of something long ago. So if this were happening to me, for example, I might think, oh, okay, maybe I will renew my power. I've been president of this country for almost 27 years, and I should just keep going. Or I might also think, oh, well, it's an ending time. It's an eclipse. I will make way for a new beginning. I'll quit my job. I'll move on. In some people's cases, they die. And that's where some of this grief comes in. More than anything, the grief is very much about the loss. So, one other little note about some of the energy that we're swimming in now. There's these fun things, the lunar nodes. They're very confusing to people. So, I'm going to try to keep it really simple with them for the time being. We've just shifted into a new axis of the lunar nodes. They're always oppositional signs, and they have to do with the moon and how the moon's polar axis interfaces with the ecliptic of the zodiac. And we're presently in the energy of Aquarius as an energy that we're moving towards. Meanwhile, we're moving away from the energy of Leo, and we just had this eclipse exactly at 20 degrees and 2 minutes of Leo. Two is a really intuitive number. We also have the zero in there, which is special gifts and the mystery. And the nodal energy, if you think about it, quite counters the eclipse energy. So, in some ways, the self was eclipsed in this moon coming between Earth and Sun. We are like the Sun, the self, though we're natives of the Earth, but our emotional field is the moon. And so we've kind of got this little mystery soup happening here with one of these giant events that happened today, this total solar eclipse that's blanketed and framed by all of these other events, Perseid meteor showers, planetary parade, Mars going into Cancer, which is his fall, the lunar node change, Ceres has also moved. There's all kinds of little things going on right now, as there always is. It's just that sometimes it seems a little more active than others. So we're experiencing it in all these different ways. And we also are in a heightened state in so many other ways. Just in the simplest sense, if you're in the northern hemisphere, you're in the dog days of summer. But we also have this El Nino plus climate change, and the two are heating everything up. So many places are just so very hot. And going back to the eclipse, the one of the hot places is Europe. And for the first time, really since 1999, this eclipse quite affected Europe directly. In 2006, there was in very Eastern Europe an eclipse that affected Georgia and Western Russia. But this one actually began in Siberia and then it moved over the North Atlantic, moved over Greenland, Iceland, Spain, and just a smidge of Portugal. So it's really activated this part of the world in a really poetic way that it hasn't in 27 years, moving at sunrise all the way to sunset. And both eclipses, August 11th, 1999, and the one today, August 12th, 2026, were on Wednesdays as well, both over Europe. That one in the way back when was a little bit more westerly to easterly and went over slightly different places in Europe, but mainland Europe was certainly affected. And we've got a lot of action happening there. We've got a lot of action happening in Greenland. Of course, the Middle East. In the eclipse in 1999, it was actually more affecting the Middle East as well, all the way to the Bay of Bengal and India. So we have definitely different variables, but so many similarities. I'm going to present one more different variable and then I'll let you get back to your worlds. So this one I find really interesting. Going back to the nodes, they shift every 18 months and change. And every 18 years and 6 months, we've gone through every single sign in the ecliptic of the zodiac with the nodes. And every 9 years, so that's half of the 18, we find ourselves essentially in a nodal opposition. So let's bring it back to the individual rather than the world and think just about ourselves. So when you turned age, what would it be, 27, you were in an oppositional place to where the nodes were when you were born. Same as when you were 9 years old, on and on. So since this very similar eclipse happened 27 years ago, it actually is also at oppositional nodes. So back in 1999, the North node would have been in Leo. That eclipse was also in Leo. It was total solar, so it was a new moon, and it was at 18 degrees. I kind of forgot the minutes. I want to say 48 or 54, but I'm forgetting. At any rate, uncannily close to 20 degrees of Leo, the one we just had. But then there's this opposition. So we have this really interesting thing of things being so similar, very much like a song. There's a reprisal, but then there's this differentiation. And going back to someone like Putin, he's 27 years older than he was then. His Pluto is very much likely affected by this. Going to one more world leader out there who I also think is grieving, though I am not convinced he's very wakefully aware of it. And right now I'm talking about the President of the United States, who was born in eclipse energy who has recently done a few things that are kind of hard to handle just emotionally. The one I'll mention right now is that he did something recently where he basically saved himself because of, as I say, a credible assassination threat. But he threw his entire press corps and anyone who went on Air Force One, the airplane that has the call signal of Air Force One that typically the president flies on, he basically threw them all under the bus. And members of his cabinet and press corps, et cetera, because they were essentially acting like a decoy so that he could cut and run. And while I'm sure that's controversial to call that grief, to me, that's a really good example of the illusion of separation. Now, his astrology, being born into eclipse energy himself, and also where his Pluto is, I would say he is quite affected by this, as well as his ascendant. Again, I'm not going to do a deep dive in their astrology, but we might be seeing some interesting stuff around the bend, given that eclipses tend to be mile markers. And right now, we have entered this afterglow liminal space that's going to cascade us towards a lunar eclipse in Pisces. Now, this is a partial one. It happens 28th of August. It's going to feel different, but it tells the rest of the story. And I really think of the two eclipses in the season. Every blue moon will have three, but there's usually two, a solar and a lunar, and they're the climaxes of the story. And then we've got plot points in between, and then the narrative has a denouement after the second eclipse. So we're sort of feeling it. We started feeling it the second, third week of July, and then we've really started to ramp it up with this total solar. Things are going to shift around and reorganize from everything that happened just today. And then we're going to see things shift around for lunar Pisces eclipse too. FYI, my friend KM Garland and I are going to have a talk more focused on the lunar eclipse. He is a knockout astrologer. He focuses a lot on astrocartography as well as financial astrology, but he's got a really comprehensive understanding. He's very fun to talk to too because he goes immediately into astrology vocabulary. He knows it so well. I tend to sort of constantly translate because astrology can get a little bit confusing. Okay, the very last thing I'm going to say today, because I find it significant, two things really. So this week in particular, we have got really long lunar transits. So like, for example, Luna, our moon, is in between signs. So she left Leo. She's en route to Virgo. It's going to take her a minute. And we've got another one coming up. So our emotions might be a bit untethered. So when I do clairvoyant work, I would probably be helping people bring their etheric bodies into their physical body. They may have left their astral body up on the astral plane. Lucky for us, we do have a silver cord that connects our astral body so we can kind of reel them back in. We also had an 11/11 day. I'll explain. So August 11th, that would be the anniversary of the 1999 eclipse, and it was yesterday, was a Mardi, a Mars day, a Tuesday, and the 11 of the August 11th is one of the 11ths. So that's sort of the beginnings of the numerology. But then if you just do basic addition and you add up all the numbers of the date, including the month, assigning it to the number eight, and the year 2026, you instantly come up with a master number, which is 11. And the Pythagoreans thought 11 was the Shizneh. It was like the number. It had just this incredible vibration. I'm really visual and I love the shape of 11. I just love the clarity of the gateway of 11 and how 11 multiplies and just always doubles. It goes to the next two master numbers, 22, 33, and then if you multiply it by four, it goes to 44, on and on and on. And it's just this incredible opening. So Lionsgate is just about to close on the 14th. That's a relationship between the binary star Sirius and Leo and our sun and constellation Leo, that is. So we've just got all of this energy, plus Jupiter is in Leo, just so much, and other planets too. We could go off here if we wanted to, but the 1111 gateway happening right before this eclipse is just yet another one of the phenomena, as well as an aspect of the sacred geometry of all that's going. Hey, appreciate y'all hanging on and stay tuned. I'll catch you around the bend. Yours and carrying the light.